So now I have my hinge the right length. What I'm going to do is drill my hinge and my ring shank at the same time. So I've just taken a small round burr and burred a place for my 1mm drill bit to start. So wax your bit. And we're just going to do a little bit at a time. Nice sharp drill bit, and make sure that you keep putting wax on the bit. So once you have your hinge made and drilled, cut it off. And I left a big piece on it just so that it was easy to handle. Now hold this in your parallel jaw pliers and tidy up the ends. File it so that it's slightly rounded on the end, so this side is, this side isn't. And by holding it this way, we'll be able to do both of them at the same time. Just brace it against your bench peg. Take your time, make it nice. It's easier to do it now than it is when it's on the piece. So now I'm back to my setting, and I need to trim the base off and tidy that up before I solder my hinge piece on. So saw to within 1/2 mil of the bezel. We'll go all the way around and then file until the base just touches the bezel. Don't go too far. Before you start filing, check that your file is clean. If it isn't, clean it, because it doesn't file properly if there are bits of metal in it. Now be careful when you're filing with this, because if you brace this against the V in your bench peg, it's going to bend your bezel over. So if you brace it against the solid part, but I usually just hold it in my fingers and follow the curve. So when you're filing, just file until you touch the base of the bezel and then stop. So we don't want to go too far. We want to leave our bezel the full width. So once you get the base filed back, you can just file your join at this time. So don't get too aggressive with your file, and then take your 400 gray paper on your sanding stick follow the curve of the bezel, and what you want is for the bezel all to be a nice satin finish. Then we're going to put this top edge down on the bench on our sandpaper. because we want the top edge to be level 2. So we do that, and just put a small bevel on the bottom just to make sure that there's not a sharp edge. And then we're going to solder our hinge on. So I'm ready to solder my hinge on. And I've got it placed roughly in the center of the ring, and I want to come in about 1.5 millimeters or 2 millimeters from the edge. Mix up your flux. Make sure it's nice and creamy. And so I've put it under my hinge. And I'm going to put a piece of solder on either side of this. So just a small piece. Placed with your flux brush. So just warm this up. I am using hard solder again. Keep the flux warm, push the solder in position. Now, the base is a lot bigger than the hinge, so the majority of our heat is on the base. Just watch your flux. The flux will go clear, and then the solder will flow. That's it. Quench and pickle. Now I'm going to cut the hole in the other side for my ring shank, and what I want is just to measure to the center of my hinge, which is 4.29, and then I'll just drag my calipers at that spot, and I'll drill my hole there. So we're going to use the round burr to make our mark for the drill. And then a 1 millimeter hole. And I'm just going to saw out a hole that is the same size as my ring shank. So I don't want it a real big sloppy hole, but it needs to be a square hole, 2 millimeters square. So we'll just thread our saw blade through this hole and then saw out our mark. And once you have your hole roughly the size you want, this is square wire, and I'm using a square jeweler's file. So just do a little bit at a time until your shank fits in. So just a little bit bigger. You can make it slightly bigger because it's going to be coming in on an angle when we put the ring on. So a little more. So just a little bit at a time. It's easy to take the metal out. It's difficult to put it back. So there, I'm pretty happy with that. You can see, yep. So now we need to make our ring shank, and what I'm going to do is anneal this so I can bend it around my ring mandrel, and then we'll go from there. So I want a size P, and the thing of it is we're making our ring shank into a U. So you need to just look that this is even with the top of your ring mandrel, because that's still going to be a vertical part of the U, and the rest of it will get bent around the mandrel. So I'm going a couple of sizes smaller. I'm just pushing it with my fingers. And then I'll need to use my rawhide to bring the ends up. Yeah, that looks good. So now we fit it into our ring. Oh, I've got a bit of a bird there I need to take off. So we'll just slide this end up in, and you can see now I need to form this so that we're bringing the ends in, and this pin needs to fit in the hinge. So at this point I'll probably use my flat half-round pliers. This out of the way. So that's fairly close. We just need to play with it a little bit to get it so that it's an equal curve on both sides and that it goes up in here. So I think I'll do that this way.